Hey, 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 welcome in, welcome in. This is Jean, and I am your host. Welcome to my podcast here on Spotify. So this is the apocalypse in Waco. Now, why am I correlating these two together? Um, for a few reasons, but for those out there that have seen or lived through Waco, then welcome in. Thank you for listening, first of all. And second of all, if you've never heard of it, then you'll be in for a treat. Jump on YouTube or jump on Netflix or, hear the rest of this podcast out because it was a wild one and it shouldn't be forgotten either. It was the first time that on American soil, the level of people that died for no reason. Well, there was a lot of reasons, but in the name of apocalypse. Now, why do I keep saying that? Because if you don't know what these people were, then they were the Branch Davidian, which is a branch of the Seven-Day Evangelists, I believe, and they're an apocalyptic religion. I don't want to call the Branch Davidsons a cult, but the way David Koresh kind of turned it into what he turned it into a cult. I'm just for sake of saying it was a cult. Now, before I get into all of that, for those that can't see this podcast here on YouTube, um, the opening to this is the amendments: the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, and the Third Amendment. And I'm going to read those for those that are listening and might not remember what they are. Shit, coming from, a Catholic school, I don't ever remember them teaching me, but I was not a very good student. So that's my reasons why I don't remember them on a personal level. But before I say it, for those watching, I've done this a couple times, so I don't know if I showed you, but I think everybody out there should have this thing. It is the Constitution of the United States, and it's the full Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence. And I think all of us now, Americans, should have this in our pockets for reference or to memorize or even just show anybody in the moment that may not happen to know it. And what is the First Amendment, you may ask? The First Amendment is Congress shall not make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise therefore, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Second Amendment: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people and to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Gun owners, sorry, I can't even say it right. Gun owners, you fucking love that amendment. You know. Amendment 4. The right of the people to be secure in their person's house, papers, and effects or their, belongings against unreasonable search and siege shall not be violated, or no warrant shall be issued, but upon, I gotta turn page, without probable cause, supported by the oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be sieged and the person or things to be seized. Basically, you need a warrant. Now, why are those so important? Well, I think hearing them tells you all you really need to know. But the reason why it's so important now is because, well, these amendments have been around for a long time, and it plays in this case, in the or case, or I should say, this circumstance. This particular circumstance, it was incredibly necessary and needed because the ATF caught wind eventually that David Koresh and his people had lots and lots and lots of guns. They had bombs, they had AK-47s, they had it all. They had an army or preparation for an army. And they fought back. But what happened is that they caught wind, and as they were trying to find the place, because this is way out in Texas, right? Or in Waco, Texas, outside of Waco, Texas, in Mount Carmel. It's a lot of land. Especially back in the early 90s. Um, yeah, it was just this beautiful commune, basically, in my opinion. Um, Now, David Koresh started to have massive psychosis. And now we finally can get into delusion, psychosis of religion. He's a really good example. Um, his delusions, now, when he was fairly young, like younger, he started to get these grand delusions about how he was lost. Okay. Now, this is why he's relatable. And if you remember when I was talking about Hillsong, um, people need relatable. They just do. They need shit that makes them feel like they're a part of something. So, and if they don't, they go looking for purpose. And that's what David Koresh did. He went on a journey, and he eventually even went to Israel. And it was in Israel that he believed he had full blown psychosis, started having visions of God or someone, I believe it was God, started telling him what he needed to do. And it is there where he discovers, quote unquote, discovers that he is the second coming of God and that he needs to save as many people possible, basically, and before this end time. He got this ideology. He basically stole this fucking religion. He stole Mount Carmel from a couple. Um, I can't remember their names at this moment. At this point, actually, I don't think you guys really care. But they were the original branch Davidians. Is it Davidians or Davisons? I think it's Davisons. Might be Davidian. Anyways, this married couple had their own preaching thing going on here. David Koresh finds himself in Waco in Mount Carmel, and yeah, after the main preacher declared that God would be coming, the end times are here, they're here, and they'll be on this date. And guess what? It didn't fucking happen because it never does. People have been talking about end times since shit. I'm a lover of medieval things since I was a kid, and people holding up signs. A lot of Protestants holding up that sign, end times, because that's sure shit, not Catholics. Um, Sorry, but it's true. Um, you see it in movies sometimes. I've even brought this up. You see it sometimes that people, oh, times are here, save your soul. That's all of their shebang is to save your soul. And from this and from that. And so it's basically what happened. He ended up taking over. And what's really gross is that he wasn't even that old. I mean, he was a man, but he wasn't like 50, right? This woman who lost her husband, she was like 60. Everybody was shocked that these two even had a relationship, but he found his in. And that's what these people do. They find a way in. They look for a vulnerable place. They find a way in. My opinion, it's self-centered because all they're thinking about is themselves. It's not selfish. It's personal gain. What can I gain from you? What can I take from you? What can I accomplish through you? And in my opinion, I think he really thought, hey, you know what? I get an entire congregation and an entire commune, basically. And yeah, he took over. She eventually died because she was old. And now he had this whole entire congregation. Now, I think I mentioned, I'm not going to get into the crazy, crazy nitty gritty of these details because it's wild. And I don't have that much time, to be honest. Now, oh, sorry guys. If you're watching me, you can see me. I'm moving stuff around because I'm kind of, my legs are locking. Okay, so I'm going to read you guys my notes. Why was, or yeah, let me start from the beginning. What was it? What was this? What was Waco? What was Waco siege? Um, it was a 51-day standoff. 51 days, okay, that these people were in their compound, and David Koresh just didn't want to give up. He didn't want to give in. You know, it's kind of like, well, if I can't have them, no one can kind of situation. Anyways, I'm going to keep going. Now, this happened on February 28th, 1993 in Mount Carmel Center, right outside of Waco, Texas. Why was there a siege? Is because federal law enforcement, not local, federal law enforcement and the branch Davidian religion sect, like I said, had gotten wind of stockpiling. Basically, they were stockpiling all their fucking weapons. They ended up raiding it, and how it raided, and I'm going to jump around, so hopefully you guys can follow my train of thought. They were driving down this massive road, as I was saying, and one of their members was in a car or truck or whatever, and they got lost. The ATF got lost in trying to find this compound. So they geniusly, sarcasm, decided to stop a person that was driving by and ask him where it was. And they're obviously have their all of their gear, so it's very obvious that they're the ATF, you know. So this person turned their car around, turned their truck around, and went back to the compound and let them have it. Hey, you're about to be raided. Um, and in that member's mind, or that person that went back and told David Koresh, you know, David Koresh was already in full blown fucking psychosis by this point. That, you know, the grander delusion just turned completely psychotic, schizophrenic, drug induced hallucinations and paranoia, just like Jim Jones. And he was like, you know, fuck it, here we are. Start the apocalypse. Basically, they're not going to take my guns. They're not going to, you know, so unwillingly to even have a conversation. They never came out of their compound at that time. So there was a standoff. And I'm just going to keep going. The FBI eventually got involved in this because since nobody's coming out of this compound, it started to turn into a hostage situation because there's a lot of members in this compound. And I'm talking a lot of women, a lot of children, and a lot of men, but more so women and children. Yes. So I have a timeline. This is so long in the making. I don't even remember my notes. All right, February 28th, in 1993, the ATF raided the compound, leading to a deadly gun battle. So I can't remember if they had a warrant or not. I believe they did not. They did not have a warrant. On March 1st, remember this was February 28th when this started, when they tried to raid it. By March 1st to April 18th in 1993, prolonged FBI-led standoff negotiations as some adults and children were released. However, many still remained inside. So there was a lot of conversations on the phone. David Koresh they were able to call inside of the compound, just like shit you see in movies, you know, the hostage situation, standoff, and they would talk a lot. And, you know, Koresh would just go off on these long fucking tangents of how they're good people, and which I don't doubt that they weren't, but he was not a good person for what he did to these people. Um, but yeah, just ranting, ranting about taking my guns and the apocalypse and blah blah blah. So they eventually were able to talk him into allowing some people to go. So that's how there are some survivors. Give me 2 seconds. I gotta move this thing behind me. Sorry, guys that are listening. I do these episodes from home and on my bed because of my space. I have roommates. I live with people, so my legs get a little tight sitting on this bed. Anyways, sorry for that little pause of interruption. Um, but yeah, so this hostage situation, it just was nuts. A lot of the children were let go, but there was a lot of children that weren't. 76 members initially lost their lives. 4 federal agents were killed in this as well. And that is insane to me. God rest those souls for the federal agents, but at the same time, I think by day 2, if anything, they knew they fucked up. They knew they made a lot of mistakes, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. The compound burnt down because flare guns, it's some sort of flare guns or whatever, or tear gas. I think it may have been tear gas was thrown into the home, which started the fire, which initially is what killed those 76 people. So that is what people walk away from, and that's what they walk away remembering. They don't remember how those 76 people even got there. A lot of people, depending on who you talk to, might say, oh, well, good riddance, da 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 da. It's fucked up, in my opinion, because they were just people trying to be happy and love God. But some crazy sexaholic, drug addict, narcissist um, made them believe that, they were safe with him. And it's farthest from the truth. They were definitely not safe. But it's wild because these types of leaders, they have this charismatic, relatable thing about them that makes these people throw all reason to the wind and touches some form of delusion that we all have. Now, this opinion, because again, I'll say I don't have any degrees in psychology, I can't diagnose or any of that nature, but I can say, for my opinion, that's we all have a delusion, we all have a dream, and in some people may say that dreams are delusions, that they'll never happen. They're not, or they stop becoming delusions the moment they become a goal. And what makes them harmful is if those goals are harming people and you're not touch with reality. You have lost your full fucking touch of reality, that you can't, as they say now, that these people need to touch some serious grass, or go camping or hug a tree or something because they've completely lost all touch with reality. That's psychosis. When you hear vision, or when you hear voices, a lot of times too, people who hear these types of delusions, I guess, when they hear them, that when they go into that psychosis, it's usually related to schizophrenia or bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. Do you know how many people out there are fucking schizophrenic and bipolar 1 and bipolar 2? And Lord knows, please do not be offended by me saying that, because so much love. I know quite a few people who are bipolar, and some of you are some of the strongest people I know. But when you go into harming people, that's when it becomes a serious fucking problem. And that's what these grand leaders do. I'm trying to introduce to y'all by saying, we could be in a happy delusion. Okay. It's possible. We're happy. And in my personal opinion, that's what fake positivity looks like, is you convince yourself so much with this positivity, and that, pushing all negativity away, it can go into a full blown fucking delusion and psychosis because any psychologist will tell you you need these bad things. Everything's balanced. You need bad and you need good. Um, in the form of religion, when it starts to get bad, that, in my opinion, you don't roll with it. That's when you realize, oh shit, I'm not in a good situation. And unfortunately for these members, the Branch Davidians, I think it's Davidians, I'm saying it, um, they weren't trying to go in for that end goal. They weren't trying to, they believed the end times, which in my opinion is that delusion. But when you take it a step further and you're actually making those fucking steps for this end times that's coming, and David Koresh is not the only one. There's hundreds of apocalyptical cults out there. I mean, you can get to the weird side of, I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was in the 80s or the 90s, where the UFO apocalyptical cult, they all unalive themselves because they believed that that was the end times and they were going home. There's so many out there. That's why it's so important for mental health. Because if you're not in a right, good place, religion is a good place to soothe your soul and to find purpose and to find reason. But when you get so obsessed and you get up those obsessive thoughts, and then if you're at all a person who does drugs or drinks alcohol, you add those things. Next thing you know, you're in a cult like this. And David Koresh was an alcoholic. He also did drugs. He was very manipulative. He was a sex addict. He was a PDFer. He convinced his members that they needed to give up their wives to him because only Jesus Christ or the Messiah, in which he believed he was only allowed to have access to their wives. So, and that means all of them. That does, if you start your period 11 years old, guess what? It's just like Mormons are the same way with taking wives. So yeah, he was PDFer, my eyes. He not only was the Son of God, he was the last one that the world was over. And in many ways, also opinion, this is manifestation. He manifested this shit. He had it like in, people call it manifestation. It's part of psychology. It's almost like when you're really sick in the mind. And actually, my brain just took overrode that thought to when you get, it's gone. Sorry, that's my brain. Um, yeah, he wouldn't even let them sleep half the time, so insomnia was a factor. Um, basically what they were allowed to eat. He was a control freak of every fucking thing, down to what I just said: sleeping, eating, who they were allowed to talk to, where they were allowed to work. These things are so extreme, but when you've been abused and conditioned and told and you don't know what's going on in the outside world, it's very easy for our brains to believe it because they have you conditioned to believe nobody else but them because they're the true Messiah and you shouldn't believe any other God or messiahs or whatever other than them. So, yeah, they brought on their own apocalypse. That's what I was talking about, manifestation. Basically, he brought it upon his fucking self. He created this whole thing from the beginning to the end. So we can sit there and blame the ATF and we can blame the FBI, which positive things did come from that. But in the end, when you get crazy people, guns, no background checks, any of that sort, and they know that they're stockpiling, I mean, come on, that's a red flag. It's unnecessary. Why should you If you are not the government, why should you have that much shit? What do you need bombs for? Pin bombs. I don't know what they're called when you pull the pin and you throw them. Grenades. Oh my God. The grenades. They had all kinds of shit. Look it up, please. Um, Now, this thing with the apocalypse and the Branch Davidians, Davisons, whatever, they're not the only one. Like I said, we are currently experiencing in 2026 a bunch of people who want to bring upon the fucking apocalypse. I said it. Yep. Um, they think the end times are here. I've heard, they've anointed our president as a messiah. They have, yeah, there's so much that eventually I'll get into all of that. But yeah, guys, it's real. The positive side, what I was going to bring up, laws came after this. You are no longer. You ever wonder why you can't carry an AK-47 or an assault rifle? There you go. Laws in I think 93 or 93 to 96 because it took a while because this Waco went under a huge investigation along with every living FBI member and ATF member that was involved in this. Um, and then a year later, we had the Oklahoma bombing here on our own soil. That was the first terrorist attack that happened on our own soil that was done by our own people. There was two involved. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was there watching the flames in the compound burn at Waco. And he's even said on the record he did get the death penalty for the Oklahoma bombing for what he should have, rightfully so. And I'm a humanitarian, and I'm all like, yeah, that man deserved to die. Um, he mentioned the unfairness of the government in dealing with our guns. That's my own quote in my own memory. But I wanted to mention Oklahoma bombing because it's Leary. The name of him is starting to pop back up because I was young and I remember when it happened, just like Waco. I watched it on television, and matter of fact, I remember little kids running when they were doing the hostage exchange and they were letting people go. I remember a few children and moms able to escape, but I digress as I always do. Sorry, guys. Oh, laws and stuff were changed and created. And one of those ones is what we know now, why you can't own an assault rifle. Because there's no fucking reason to have one. We haven't had a war on our soil since the Civil War. So what are we doing? What's the point? I get it. I get it. I get it. You should be able to protect yourself. You should be able to make sure that your family is protected. But guess what, guys? In each and every state, they have their own laws of what you're allowed to do in the moment of intrusion when somebody's trying to come into your house. One state, you can protect yourself and you take that person out and you have no murder charges. Other states, guess what? You could go to jail for murder, even though you were protecting your property and your home. And so it varies from state to state. Now, people will argue, all of you gun people out there will argue this fact. As a matter of fact, it's a constant conversation in our Congress, in our government, with gun laws and everything else, and as they should be. I don't remember school shootings in the 80s. Just saying. Yeah, so that was, again, I digressed and went somewhere else, but I'm about to wrap up this here for episode 5. What's coming here soon is I'm going to keep this going, this apocalyptical thing, because I wanted to show you guys a little bit of the lead up into what old school Christian nationalism looked like. Yes, I said it, because what is Christian nationalism? It's Christians who are basically all about our nation, right? Except for David Koresh wasn't necessarily like pro America and all that other stuff, but he was when it came to his guns and it came to his little arsenal. So that's just a taste. That's a taste, because it looks very similar. And I'm going to lead you into it. Until then, I might show you or talk about a few other cults that were just completely fascinating to me and should be talked about. But Waco is the biggest one. And going into the sixth episode, I'm going to recap and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, because some of his sermons were insane. And they're all recorded. This dude recorded, David Koresh recorded everything. How they obtained them, I don't remember. But yeah, it's some pretty sick shit. And it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Um, this episode is not 100% what I wanted to make it, but this is not the last I'm going to talk about Waco. But initially, I wanted to tell you that there are a lot of apocalyptical cults out there, and this is just one. And this was before laws and everything were put in place. And I hope that it doesn't happen again, because we're having in 2026, we're having people unlawfully kick a door down, basically ruining the whole reason why we have this fucking amendment. Unlawful search and siege, not having a warrant coming into your home. And guess what? It's fucked up. And I don't think it should be okay. I've lost and cut friendship and families over this because I am completely against what the fuck they're doing. And these people don't get it, why it's so not okay that these government agents are kicking doors in. If we survive this in 5 years, I can't wait to see all the fucking laws that come out of this once we're able to push things through, because of having ideology or a mind state like that. It's completely against the law. So those out there that were upset about Waco in my generation, where are you now? Where are you? Where are you to say how bad this is and the government shouldn't be doing this and the government? It's because now they're on the other side. Yep, they're on the other side. And I think, I can't remember if I recorded this or not, because I did do a couple of these videos. Wow, I don't think I'm supposed to say it because now I forgot the train of thought. So that's my cue. I'm going to wrap it up. And I hope you guys are watching. And thanks for listening. And so much love out there. And just remember to stay you no matter what, no matter how it looks like or what it looks like or how it looks. Just be yourself. Authentically unapologetic. Always, guys. And yeah, join me for episode 6, which should be coming up here a lot more sooner because I'm just going right after this. Okay. I love y'all. And thanks again. Cheers.